Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. We have a lot on the agenda today, okay? So grab your pen and paper. A lot to go over today. Massive NBA slate. We'll go through all the games, talk them out. We got some college basketball to talk about. We got some college baseball to talk about as well. And as always, we'll get to your questions. Let's take a look back on Monday with the team here. Jake is back on track with his two-leg money line parlays that sometimes I forget to give him credit for. Shout out to him. So we go 4-3 on the night, and we got to look at Ausar Thompson here because we have to officially welcome him to the S list. Newest inductee here. Let's talk a little bit about what happened dating back to Saturday when I took him on the early edge Saturday morning show, took his PRA. He gets in foul trouble, barely plays the second half, right, Steven?
Yeah, and then last night I just thought it was a short thing. He had 6 rebounds. I had 6 rebounds and assists in the first half, and he played pretty much the entire second half and didn't. He got 1 assist late.
It was not beginning.
Yeah, and then nothing.
He had 6 going into the half. Let's see how many minutes he played. I think he led the team in minutes.
Yeah, he played 36 minutes.
And produced 1 assist the entire second half. So round of applause for Ausar. We welcome him in, newest inductee. Love that for him. All right. First, before we get into the NBA today, I see everyone in the chat. Look, we need a live chat parlay going today. Maybe a 3-legger would be good for the team. I need this revenge moment. So if anyone has some awesome plays, put them in the chat. I'm going to be looking out for them. We'll talk them out. Before we get into that, Jake, Steven, I'm kicking you out. This is just a Jake moment. Sorry, don't take offense. We're going into college Jake mode right here. We're going to start with some college baseball plays. No one better in the business than Jake here. We're starting with the obvious here. Dallas Baptist.
Yeah, Dallas Baptist at home versus OK State. I think they were either 2-0 or 2-1 against Oklahoma State last year. It's just they're much better at home than they are on the road. They're ranked 21st in the country now, or 25th in the country after a good week last week. So it's interesting that a ranked team at home is even odds with OK State. So we have them winning around 58% of the time in a model. So give me Dallas Baptist here.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on here to a little money line parlay, sticking in college baseball with TCU. And is this Georgia Tech or Georgetown?
Georgia Tech, yeah. Georgetown plays Maryland. Don't put them in this parlay. I hope you don't. So it's Georgia Tech, not Georgetown. TCU, they're minus 280, but we have them winning. We have value on them even at minus 280 today. Georgia Tech, they're playing Georgia State. And what's interesting is Georgia State did win 1 game against Georgia Tech last year, but that was at Georgia State. The 2 games that they played at Georgia Tech won. One of them was like 22-8 that Georgia, or 23-8 that Georgia Tech won. The other was 4-2. So they've won a close game and they just demolished them. But there's value on both these teams. I like it close to even odds in the parlay.
Mm-hmm. All right. If you guys haven't yet, if you could hit that like button for us. And I want everybody in the chat to be giving me their best picks of the day. Okay. We have a large slate, a lot to get through. I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts. Let's hit one more college baseball play, going with a little homer play for Jake here, but Jacksonville. Now, from what I've learned so far from my college baseball betting 101 is that it is a good idea to take underdogs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, it's a good play. The home underdogs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays are very profitable. And JU's at plus 130. They're playing against Georgia Southern, who Georgia Southern is hard to project because they play really good and they play really bad. There's no really in between. So you never know what day you're going to get them on. But Jacksonville at home at plus 130. Got to take the value here. There was also another interesting line that I had Troy at minus 175. Then it went to minus 130 on Hard Rock. Now it's at minus 220 on DraftKings and minus 200 on Hard Rock. So if you like Troy, I hope you got them earlier today because these lines move like crazy. So if you like a game, you could even DM me. I'll say if we have any value or not. But it's hard because a lot of the lines don't come in until around noon. But that was crazy movement.
Mm-hmm. I see some questions in the chat about college basketball futures. We're definitely going to get to those. We have some graphics, some updates on that. But before we get into the futures, let's talk about 2 college basketball plays to make some money tonight. We're going with Kentucky, who are 4-point dogs on the road here.
Yeah, so Bet Rivers, I was about to play at a 4.5, and then it moved to 4, but it moved from -13 to -108. We have Kentucky winning this game outright. But the thing that scares me is Mississippi State is a lot better at home, but maybe Kentucky carries some of that momentum for after they killed Alabama in that last game. I mean, Kentucky's so talented, but they just
So many points.
the defense is rough. They 117 to 95 win their last game over Alabama, but they gave up 95 even though they scored almost 120 points. So I like playing the spread here because Mississippi State is really good at home, and maybe if Mississippi State wins, Kentucky's able to keep it close.
I know I'm making a TikTok right now for Sportsline talking about the whole recap of the season so far. And I'm like, down the SEC, Bama and Kentucky are just scoring so many points, but that's really all they seem to be able to do here. Steven talking about the one game they held Auburn to 59. They had 2 great games in a row, and I was all excited. Jake was all excited, and then they stopped playing defense again. All right, let's move on. One more college basketball play before we move on. We're going with Boise Air Force to score a lot of points.
Yeah, so they played earlier this season, and the total was 150. In the last, I think, 5 years when they've played at Air Force in Colorado, the total over at 133.5 is 5-1, but 2 of those have landed exactly 134. So that's why I like getting 133.5 right here. This game's interesting because there was wildfires on Air Force's campus yesterday. So a memo was sent out that this game could be played with no fans, just media. So that's an interesting aspect to watch out for if there are no fans. And I don't know how that's going to affect the scoring. Maybe there's more fouls because it's easier to call things when the fans aren't screaming at you. But I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see if there are fans allowed or not.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting atmosphere. Seeing a ton of questions flying in. Love to see it. When I answer 2 right here about college baseball, I'll put you on the spot here, Jake. Looking at Coastal Carolina here. 2 teams we've talked about before here. Moneyline -160.
This is funny because the total in this game opened at 15.5, shot up to 17.5, and on DraftKings, and then it was 15.5 after it shot up on DraftKings on Hard Rock for about 30 minutes. So I got it at 15.5, and then now it's at 17.5 in pretty much every book. But we have slight value on Coastal, so I don't mind playing Coastal here at home against Campbell. I think Coastal is a little deeper than Campbell. Campbell is really good. They did lose most of their rotation from last year, so it's going to be interesting to see how good their midweek pitching is throughout the season. But Coastal had a very interesting game where their pitcher was pulled after getting no outs against Cincinnati, and then they ended up scoring 11 in the first inning against Cincinnati, and they won 25-3. So Coastal could put up runs really quickly, and so can Campbell. But I definitely lean Coastal here.
All right. We got a lean here. I saw you answer the Wofford question in the chat as well. All right. We got a lot to cover today. So we're going to rapid fire really quickly through some March Madness just to catch up. We like to keep everyone catched up. We don't want March to sneak up on us. We've been monitoring here. Jake has come up with the championship mold here. The winner of March Madness the last 21 years has fit all 4 of these: top 40 offensive efficiency, top 30 defensive efficiency, ranked in the beginning of February and from the Eastern Central time zone. Here are the teams currently that fit that mold. Kansas is a new team that's here in this mold that we're looking at. A lot of these guys have stuck around, and these are all guys we have value on, right, Jake?
Yeah, so most of these teams we have value on. I know we have good value on Creighton. We have good value on Tennessee, Houston, and Purdue, and UConn. So then Auburn, we have slight value. Marquette, North Carolina is the only team I think we have bad value on. Duke, we have about even value. But yeah, Kansas is new to this group just because they are in that tier of offensive efficiency in the Ken Palm top 40. So they're in there. Iowa State was, I said that they're really close after that. I think last Tuesday they were in, and now they're back out after this past weekend. But they're right there too. Iowa State's like the next team in. But Kansas is the only new team out of these 10 teams just because their offensive efficiency is up. The biggest concern with Kansas is definitely Kevin McCullar's health. He has been in and out of the lineup just because of his health. He's averaging 19 points. But yeah, as Steven said, we don't like Kansas and we don't like North Carolina. It's probably because of their defensive efficiency is slacking at times.
Yeah, and there are a couple of these teams here. We've talked about their pros and cons before. Someone like Houston, again, who's great, just not star-studded, but also only run 8 men deep, which is not ideal. And I believe Creighton's similar, right? They only run a 6-man.
Yeah, so Houston, they lost Terrence Arsenault early in the season, so they have an 8-man rotation. They're not really star-studded, but they have Kelvin Sampson, which definitely helps, who has been to the Final Four with Indiana before he had resigned there, but he's just such a good coach. So that's why they're always boosted, and our model loves them because they're always model loves the defensive efficiency that Houston has. But the big thing is that if they get into foul trouble or another injury, they could be in trouble because they're not that deep. And Creighton starts 3 seniors, a junior, and a sophomore. And we have value on Creighton. Their best value is to make the Final Four, but the problem is they're not that deep outside of those players.
All right, well, let's look at some ways we can turn this into some money-making opportunities. And we also have a little sneak peek, a little new Cinderella potential we're going to look out here after this slide. But let's take a look. A few teams, again, pretty self-explanatory with UConn and Houston. Good value to win the championship right now. Creighton as a great long shot here, plus 3,400. Look over at teams to make the Final Four. Bama, we've mentioned before. Again, we love their offense, championship caliber offense. The defense, like Kentucky, just struggling. Hard to believe maybe they could go past the Final Four. Drew, in the beginning of the show, was asking about some futures that we like. So let's talk about BYU and Clemson quick. 2 sneaky plays we haven't talked about much.
Yeah, Clemson is new to this team. I think they might be up there because we like how their matchups play in the latest Jerry Plum bracket. But they're up there in their offensive and defensive efficiency. I think they're both top 40 in the country. They're just outside the top 25 in the rankings. BYU, we've always loved BYU just because I guess their offense, but all these teams, they're just outside of that threshold. Alabama is outside of the defensive threshold, which is why I like them to make the Final Four. We have some value on them. So we have Clemson as 13th team in the country, but they're projected at the 5 seed. So we'd have them on the 3 seed line.
All right. Those are a few teams. Again, if there are any specific teams you guys are curious about, we have our entire March Madness current bracket and how we would have this all playing out. So would love to answer questions there. I see the NBA questions and the props just rolling in. I'm excited to get to all these. Before we do that, really quickly, we got to talk about a possible new Cinderella here. College of Charleston. They were kind of on the radar last year, but then had a heartbreaking loss early in March Madness.
Yeah, so they were the people's pick for Cinderella last year against San Diego State. They lost a close game by 6 points, 63-57. And they're just so experienced. They're well coached. I wouldn't be surprised if their coach gets the Ohio State job or leaves, but he's built a pretty strong program there in Charleston. They weren't in the last couple of our picks because UNCW was actually leading the conference, but now Charleston's first place in the conference. They're catching some steam. They're a team that's been really good the last couple of years against the spread. And so that's kind of like Drake like 2 years ago when they were dominated against the spread. We love them the next season because they carried on. That is similar like Charleston. Charleston was really good against the spread last year, and we like them this year because of that.
All right. Yeah, I like College of Charleston. I was definitely part of the public wagon last year on them and got my heart broken early against San Diego State as well. But second time's the charm, except if you're a star.
I think Jerry Plum has Charleston playing Baylor, and we have them winning around 40% of the time, but that's the best of any of the 14-3 matchups. And they're projected 14 seed, but we'd have them probably around the 9th seed.
All right. Enough college basketball talk. Enough about March Madness. We have a massive NBA slate to get through. Steven, everybody get warmed up, okay? We got a lot to get through here. Get the energy high. Get the picks rolling. I see a ton I want to get to in the chat, starting with Big Cheesy talking about this Warriors game. Let's head over to the model, talk about this Warriors game. He was asking about Draymond Green. I know we just made some money fading Draymond. I also believe this might be a good spot to back Draymond. Maybe just his points and rebounds, I think, are 15.5. Big Cheesy likes his PRA. Can we look into that, and then we'll head into what you have?
We're projecting overs. If the line's around 22.5 points, rebounds, assists, we like that number. So like the over. Yeah, we faded his under points, but that's because for one day his points were an oddly high 10.5.
Yeah, and he's playing a little more favorable matchup here. I mean, he sizes up pretty well against the Wizards. I'd like to assume.
Well, who doesn't? But I think if you want to, I can take a look at his home road splits. But I think that's a safe bet.
Okay, because that was something I'm looking into. Maybe me and Big Cheese are in a lock agreement here. I know you like Mr. Stephen Curry here. We're not going points. We're going rebounds and assists.
Yeah, because he tends to average. It looks like he's more of a facilitator on the road. He averages 10.6 rebounds and assists on the road versus 8.7 at home. I put an act now on it because this was available at plus 110 a few hours ago. So it's coming down. And it's minus money in most spots. I think he's due. I know it's bad logic, but he's had 3 straight home games where he's all come under. His last over was a road game at Utah, a similar situation where they're playing an overmatched team. He had 11 in his early game versus Washington.
All right. I like the even money value there as well. I think that's all I saw for this game specifically. Again, not something too exciting, but we can move over to Brooklyn, headed to Orlando. Brooklyn really did the damn thing last night against Memphis. Was a really weird, fishy line, and somehow Vegas knew something we just really didn't know. But let's talk about some turnovers here that you like.
Yeah, I'm going with Dennis Schroeder under 2.5 turnovers, which is plus money. The model's only at 1.5, so the number is higher because he has, since 6 games with Brooklyn, he has 14 turnovers, and he had just 4 in his last game. But that's still, not a value at 2.5 with plus money on the under. For the season, his road games, he's averaged fewer turnovers than at home, and the under is 26-6 in his road games this year. Again, he had 4 last night, but he only has 3 games where he had back-to-back nights with 3 or more turnovers, 3 situations this season. So I kind of like him to just go back to his normal 2 turnover night.
Mm-hmm. You and these turnover, block, steal plays, we're really getting creative out here. And honestly, knock on wood, it's been working out pretty well. So I like that. Cash with Tyrese Halliburton last night as well. Mm-hmm. All right, let's head over to Dallas going to Cleveland here. I got some questions about this game. Is this a situation where it's a good Donovan Mitchell buy low spot? Like now he's kind of past his illness and injury, and the line maybe is still too low? Because I was thinking about putting him in the little Ken's on the fly parlay.
Yeah, the model has a lot of value at just 35.5, a line of 35.5. Maybe it's even better because we have 38 projected, again, assuming that he's fully healthy. The line's down because he only had, 25 and 36 minutes. He wasn't aggressive offensively. More than half his shots were from 3. So I guess people think that he's maybe a little slowed down from his injury. Can't be as aggressive, but I think that 35.5 in what should be a pretty high scoring game against Dallas and a marquee matchup with the Kyrie-Luka matchup is on order. The model had value if you could still get 232.5. I think it's ticked up to 233.5 in most spots. So the line was down initially because the under has been steaming high for both teams, 8-2 in Dallas games, 8-3 in Cleveland games. But in the model, both teams are not as good 3-point defensively in this situation. Dallas on the road, Cleveland at home. So that's why we like the over. Can't hear you.
Oh, the mute button.
Sorry, guys. Trying to make a poll on the YouTube. If you guys can let me know if I should add Donovan Mitchell into the Ken's on the fly parlay. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Scott asking about Luka here. Triple-double. Not sure what the line is, but wondering if you have that projected.
I mean, we don't have it. I don't have it off the tip of my fingers. We do have basically the same line at point rebound assists. I doubt we have value on the triple-double.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about Evan Mobley in the chat. Is that who I'm supposed to be on instead of Donovan Mitchell?
I'm on Mobley. I like that play a lot.
We have over his value there.
We have a lot of over value there.
Do you like both there, I say?
I like both.
All right. Well, I'll keep thinking about it. We got a lot of games to get through. All right. Let's move on. We're going to – this is going to be so ugly. Philly going to Boston. That should be an interesting game. I was curious myself about Buddy Hield here. I know he has had some regression this past few games. Maybe, again, a good buy low spot for him. I think his points line is around 12.5. Anyone?
Yeah, we like that. Yeah, we like it at 14.8. So out of necessity. You would think that he's still getting plenty of field goal attempts and minutes.
All I'm looking for is minutes and attempts, and the rest will come.
Yeah. 12.5 is a pretty low number.
Right? And I feel like the Celtics kind of let up those type like 3-pointers. Am I making that up in my head?
Let me see. Boston at home. Well, at home they have really good numbers, but sometimes it could be good if they. I think work in our favor if Boston is up big.
True.
And not really locking down.
That may be a good spot for our guys like Kelly Oubre and stuff.
Yeah.
And, that should see some good minutes.
So the one I'm going with here, Drew Holiday, actually ties to another positive money over on a half a block that I have going. But Holiday, the model has him at 0.63, so right around 60% chance of a block with plus 130 on DraftKings. The line is based on his last season's average, which was 0.4, where the under was 50 and 22. But this season, it's way up. I mean, doesn't sound like a lot, but 0.3 increase from 0.4 to 0.7 is a pretty big percentage growth. Guards that averaged half to one block versus Philadelphia last year were just 27-43 over, but this year 21-19. I'm thinking maybe with Embiid missing a lot of time and a lot of field goal attempts from guards that you just have more block opportunities.
Josh was asking earlier about Drew Holiday over 1.5 threes here.
We are projecting 1.7, so that's pretty good value.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I think that's all I see on this game. Let me just take a quick gander here at the model in case there's anything else that I was curious about. I know someone was asking about Jaylen Brown boards potentially over 5.5. Looks like we have him for 6.
Yeah.
So we don't disagree here. Yeah, this is going to be ugly. I probably won't watch this, but I might be betting on Buddy Hield. Okay, let's move to San Antonio going to Minnesota. I know there's lots of questions about Wemby and those blocks and steals. I believe the line is at 4.5. Scott is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hammering it 5 times. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in such a ridiculous tear with, in those kind of numbers, especially these 2 games recently with 5 and 5 of both. So I disagree with the model that doesn't have value on the over. I have absolutely no concerns about him getting that number, considering how he's been.
Derek was saying he has 5+ blocks in 3 straight games and 4 of his past 5. That is insane.
Yeah, so that's why I would stay confident with that. I like Anthony Edwards to get over half a block. So again, I'm kind of in my mind. I know it's not popular among gambling experts to think that you're going to lose, but I know I'm not. I'm one of those people that tries to go 6 and 4. Or in this case, I figure Anthony Edwards and Drew Holiday, the chances of both of them not having a block is probably around 30%. But there's probably a 20% chance that they both get a block, which you win plus money on both. And then there's a good chance that 1 and 1, and with both of them being plus money, I'm trying to package those together in my mind is why I like this. So the line for his career would be before this season, this line would probably be at plus 110 on over half a block based on his averages. His numbers down this year. He went 11 straight games recently without a block, but since then he's on a 5 and 3 stretch. So I think that the regression to the mean in this case, I think will be more blocks, but he does get more at home, 0.6 versus 0.4.
The chat seems to also like Anthony Edwards here just to perform overall against Wemby, which I actually could probably see him trying to put on a show as well. His point line, 27.5 though. Pretty high. Yeah,
we don't have value on that. I think Gobert is still listed as a questionable, so we'll see if he's there to actually defend Wemby at all.
Yeah. Do you think him being on or off the court will affect Edwards' point prop at all?
I think so. I mean, he's not a huge. He doesn't get me. He has 7 field goal attempts a game, but when Gobert's not in there, there's just more space in the paint, and because Karl-Anthony Towns tends to drift out the 3-point range anyway, so that will give him some more opportunities, you would think.
All right, I'm not that convinced on a lot yet. I have 2 plays I kind of like. But good thing we are heading over to the New Orleans Pelicans and Trey Murphy. What do we got going on there?
Are his lines up?
We can only hope.
I don't see anything on my little board here, but that's not to say that they're not posted somewhere. And he's been kind of disappointing this season. His 3-point just roll down.
Speak on him like that.
But the good thing about the Knicks have been playing pretty bad defensively against a three since the trade and even a little before that. And you see a lot of teams, even Detroit, when Detroit shoots almost 50% from 3-point range against you, you're not defending the three well. So this all season, most of the season, the Knicks were really reliable in their 3-point defense, but they've really been leaky recently. So I think that this could be good for Trey Murphy. I'm going to fade Josh Hart's recent tear on rebounds and assists. So for the season, he averages 10.5. So 13.5 is a way high number, minus 125. The line is up because for over a month, he's at over 15 rebounds and assists. But despite that, the under is still 17 and 11 at home. So I just think that he's been playing at a kind of unsustainably high level. They just had an emotional win yesterday. So on a back-to-back, I'm hoping that he doesn't get the minutes needed to hit the rebound or assist number.
He hurt me on Saturday as well. I almost wanted to put him on the S list, but that was my first time betting on him in my recent memory. So I guess fading him, and if it works out, then he stays safe. But don't get too comfortable, Josh Hart. Nick S. likes DiVincenzo over 16.5 points here.
Just at 16, but again, that's based on a 32-minute projection. He's had 32 the last 2 games, but before that, he was on that ridiculous 40-minute stretch. So I don't know if the last 2 games had anything to do with, 2 games ago, it looks like he may have had some foul issues. Last game, I'm not sure why his minutes are, I say just down to 32, but that's the only reason why. If you think he's going to go back up to that level he was with those 36 plus, then it's probably a safe bet.
Mm-hmm. Seeing a lot of questions about the Utah-Atlanta game. No Trey Murphy. Would like to talk about John Collins. A lot of people asking about John Collins. Was he on Utah?
Revenge game, John Collins. I think that we don't have value on his overs because we're only projecting 29 minutes. But the revenge game, he's been playing a few more minutes recently. So if you think he's up for 32 minutes in this spot, then I think that we would lean over. All it takes is to him play 3 more minutes than we have him projected for. The pick that I like in this one is probably not available anymore. In fact, I just checked. The lowest number I saw in Atlanta's team total was 118.5. So all the numbers would indicate that Atlanta should score around 125. Utah allows 126 the last 5 games. They allow 5 more points at the road than at home, around 123. And with Trae Young out, Atlanta doesn't get really that much worse overall, but their scoring goes down. Their defense points allowed also goes down without Trae Young. I'm banking on, but I think an adjustment, the line was at 117.5 at one point. That's too far down in my mind. They just had, so I like that fact that Atlanta does shoot a higher percentage on 3-point range with a lower turnover rate without Trae Young. So I like that. I like them, but I don't think it's at 118.5. It's probably not available anymore.
What about Christian asking this in the chat? I had similar questions here. As far as players on the Hawks directly affected, who can we start to look out for to produce?
Well, DeJounte Murray is the one that, the reason why the team arguably could be better without him. He's had 2 huge games in a row, and there was some, I think his assist line was only 8.5. And without Trae Young, we have him at over 9 assists. So I like that play a lot.
I wonder what that line is.
One of their chat, someone said it had 8.5. I could check on my.
I might take a look into him.
I have the odds job, I think. But
all right. Well, we can take a look into that. I might add him into the on the fly parlay. I like the idea of him picking it up. Ooh, Murray double. That might be a good idea.
Yeah, what's a line?
Unsure. I can find it.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray assists 8.5, minus 135 is pretty steep, but you might want to get on that before because minus 135 is a lot better than the minus 150 you're seeing in spots.
Mm-hmm. All right. That would be something I'd take a look into. Let's move on here. I think those were all the questions for that game. A lot of questions about this Milwaukee game as well. Charlotte headed to Milwaukee. Milwaukee 14-point home favorites here. You like Giannis to make a 3 at plus money.
Yeah. So So we even though the model leans Milwaukee because Milwaukee's been playing well, Charlotte's been playing really killer defense recently and been playing well. See a lot of covers here. Cover. One loss, and they've been holding teams to nothing because they've been defending the 3 super well. So the reason why I like Giannis to make a 3 at really high plus money is not only does a model project 0.8, but I figure the key to Charlotte playing great 3-point defense is to lock down on the 3-point shooters like Dame and Malik Beasley and even Brook Lopez, and then by leaving Giannis wide open. So that's what I'm hoping to see is a kind of make Giannis beat you from distance or prove that, leave him ridiculously open in an effort to lock down the other 3-point shooters on the actual team that count.
Do you see this as a possibility of a game where a lot of these starters start to sit in the fourth quarter?
Charlotte's weird these days. They've been playing so much better, it's Portland, but they won by 13. While they lost by 13 to Golden State, they still held them to 97. They beat Utah at Utah. They creamed Atlanta at home. They beat Indiana at home. They beat Memphis at home. So again, they've been playing much better since the trade. They've been playing much better defense by adding, Grant Williams, who's kind of an odd bully, but and without Rozier, taking all the shots, they've been actually playing pretty well.
Right. Not to move backwards, but I saw Jalen Johnson brought up in the chat, which I actually am curious about myself. His assist line 4.5.
We have 4.3, so no real strong lean either.
We love his rebounds. It's usually where we have value, but
but has the line adjadjusted? Because
it's
probably up to 8.5, right? Or 9?
It's usually 8.5. Whenever it's down
7.5 pounds on it. Yeah.
So I always look for him after a bad rebounding game where he has 7, and then sometimes his line will adjust to 7.5. I'll grab over. But lately it's just been 8.5, and there might even be some 9.5s with his recent run on the over.
We should have looked at it on February 14th after he had 6 and 8.
I think I was on that. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, sure you were. Why don't you say something? I know you were here February 14th. I don't remember you saying squat about Jalen Johnson's rebound.
Speaking of
Hard Rock bet.
I know I said I was going to get off my hyperfixation of Detroit player props, but would love to know where Jalen Duren double hit it again last night. 11 points, 16 rebounds. What's his rebound line right now? Let's head over to that game.
Well, we have as his rebound line since in my database. 10.5 at minus 139. So I think that's a safe bet. We have him almost at 12 rebounds. Chicago.
Insane.
Yeah, Chicago isn't some great rebounding team at home. They're 50-50. And Detroit, again, their one statistical strength this season has been a rebound differential on the road. And so that's a good sign.
I'm looking at his 16 rebounds, 11, 13, 9, 8, barely missed it, 18, 22, 15. I'm
hoping you see him grab on 5 rebounds out of Josh Hart's hands,
Yeah, me too. All right, let's start wrapping this up here. I think we have 2 more props we want to get through. I'm going to stop asking some questions here. 3 more props, but let's we have a prop for this game, right?
For the Knicks, we did the Hot Heart one. Under
or for okay. I thought for the Pistons we had somebody. All right, let's move.
I love this one. Yeah, I forgot. Ayo Dosunmu. My brother-in-law apparently knows his father, but that's not why I like him. He's over 14.5 points. You want to act now because the price is getting steeper. He's averaged 16 over his last 11 games. Over 8-5 with a 17-point average when he gets 35 or more minutes. In his recent minutes, he's had 1 game under 35, and that's at 33, 39, 41, 39, 39. And then thanks to Jake, who asked for a request, which at first annoyed me, but then I realized it was probably a good idea. We have the ability to look at how other players have done against the opponent in this stat. So I looked at guards who averaged 13 to 17 points, how they've done against Detroit versus a 14.5 point line. And those guards are 17 and 8 combined.
Fair enough. Sorry, I'm trying to cook up.
I'll take all the credit. I'll take all the credit I could take. Yeah.
Well, we stole that, thought process from a well-known capper. So
oh yeah,
take too much credit.
All the best ideas are stolen. Like
I know.
Yeah.
Who are we? Tesla's ideas and yeah.
All right. I'm going to start cooking up my parlay, but I'm going to take you guys to the next game here. We can talk about OKC with Josh Giddey, who actually has been pretty good to us. It's kind of on the S list earlier this year, but 3.5 assists. I could see that.
That was just an injury for me. I mean, he came out blazing hot in a game with I had like over 19 and a half, I want to say, points, rebound, assists, and he had like
16
in the first quarter, and then hurt his knee. Yeah, it looked like he was out for a while, but he wasn't serious. So I love this number. It doesn't make sense to me because it's an act now because you could get even higher plus money. This plus money is probably going away. Model has over 4 assists. So the line is down because this season it's way down from 6.2 last season to 4.4, and then recently just 3.8. But still, that's still over 3.5. I'm no mathematician, but it still sounds like it's higher than 3.5. And the over is still 19 and 9 at home despite the drop off. Last 6 games against Houston's 5-1. He just played Houston, had 5 on February 25th at Houston. The over is 15-4 when OKC is at least a 5.5 point favorite. So when OKC is up big in most of these situations, they let Giddey play and get his stats.
It scares me, but I think I'm in.
3.5 measly assists for a point guard who's known for his passing.
This is true, but for some reason it always comes down to the wire with him, and I don't know if I can take that type of anxiety tonight, but I might do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because my parlay is looking pretty nice right now. All right, let me see what it looks like when I add him. Wow, we are really getting through all these games right now. Let's talk about the final game. Miami headed to Portland here. Miami, who covered for us last night.
Yeah, so we do have a slight lean on Miami again with Jimmy Butler presumably back. The bet I like a lot is Jeremy Grant over 3.5 rebounds. So again, his rebounds really low considering his size, athleticism, and the fact that I think Portland could use him to rebound more. But last season he averaged 4.5, and this season it's over 3.5. It's just been recently that he's only had 1.8 rebounds per game in his last 4 games. So I think that's brought the line down too low, considering that he does average over 1 more rebound at home than he does on the road. And then again, using the Jake-inspired or requested thing, I looked at low rebounding rate forwards, guys who average 3 to 4 rebounds, versus Miami. When they have the South Beach flu at Miami, they only average 2.9 rebounds. But at home, they average 3.9 against Miami.
Jake bringing up Lou Dort in the chat. What a blast from the past. We completely ignored this guy for months.
Yeah.
What's he looking like?
I mean, he's been on fire lately. I know Steven talked about how OKC is one of the best shooting coaches. It's crazy because his problem was, I think he shot like 25% his 1 year at Arizona State, but he's well above 40% this year, which is why he's making $19 million as an undrafted free agent. But he's been on fire shooting the ball. So I was going to look at if his line's either 1.5 3-point made or 2.5. If it's at 1.5 3 points made, you probably get some value. And maybe you could even play the under at 2.5.
But do you think it's too pricey? Like, do you think he's due for a stinker?
That's what I'm saying. Like if it's 2.5,
minus 175, but minus 175 on over 1.5 is pretty steep.
Yeah,
you probably get a better price on Odd Jam. Can probably find you a better price, but that one's too steep for me.
Exactly, that's way too steep. I would say.
All right, well, let's
take a look. Attempts, I would like.
Yeah, I know that when the odds jam plays with value is Luka under 10.5 3-point attempts, which I played under.
Because he's consistent on his attempts, especially since he's been shooting hot. I have no doubt that he'll fire away 3 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls, it's time to bring up the recap screen. And I will also bring up my parlay. Just plus 300 this time. We're not going for the plus 1,000. But let's take a look at a massive slate today. Tons of NBA player props, tons of college baseball to look at, college basketball to look at as well. Let me bring in the little 3-legger I came up with. If people have opinions on this, I want to know them. Okay. I don't really take offense to much. So you just let me know if there's something I'm missing here. But we're going alt rebounds for Jalen Duren. Just playing it safe because I'm having a lot of issues with Detroit player props right now. And I don't know. I could see him just going under a double-double. Buddy Hield, I'd feel like an idiot if I didn't take this. I feel like it's a good buy low spot because he had a little bit of regression the past 3 games. And I'm just taking your guys' word on Josh Giddey because he has technically been good to us. And 4 rebounds, 4-point guard, like you said, makes way too much sense. Big Cheesy, not a big fan of the Buddy Hield play. If you can give me something else, convince me otherwise. We can settle this on Twitter. But that's where I'm thinking right now. I'll let you guys know the official plays once I get through all of this. So bring the recap screen back up. With that said, appreciate all of you guys who stuck around. I know it was a way longer episode than normal today, but we like getting through all the slates. We like answering all your guys' questions. So appreciate you guys being here. As always, good luck with your bets, and we'll see you tomorrow.